Good evening, everyone. I'm Sareena Singh and delighted to be in an exclusive talk today with Maloo Natarajan. Just before I introduce Maloo, I would like to welcome all of you once again to this very exclusive talk that we have. It's part of the Succeed series of Women in Technology Ignite. Ignite is a career fair that we have on the 27th of November, and this is all part of our community's platform and initiative. I would urge all of you to register if you already haven't done that. And now, without further ado, I am very delighted to have Maloo with us today. And let me just introduce her as briefly as I can. There are lots of interesting things about Maloo that one can mention. Maloo is a senior executive in the financial services sector with over 25 years of experience across multiple geographies, including Asia Pacific, Europe, UK, and India. She has spent over 11 years in Singapore and London. Maloo has spearheaded global initiatives both from strategic and tactical aspects in the areas of digital technology, operations, risk management, setting up offshoring units, and leading transformation initiatives. She has been associated with the fintech community in Singapore, including mentoring startups and being part of various judging panels. Maloo is a chartered accountant with a strong academic background, complemented with real world experience of working with DBS, Citibank, Hewlett Packard, and Citadel. Maloo is currently the chairperson of the organization, focusing on women empowerment through entrepreneurship with special emphasis. Very interesting tidbits about Maloo. She describes herself as a restless soul, needs change every 3 to 4 years of her life, be it shifting homes, moving to different countries, trying different departments and areas of focus within the organization. But the bottom line has remained the same all along. She wanted to work for a bank, get onto the boards of companies, enjoy what she was doing, be financially independent, and fulfill her passion to travel. And I'm sure that resonates with a lot of the ladies who are viewing this today, Maloo. Another interesting incident that I hear is that when Maloo, you were 15, you would carry your dad's briefcase around and tell everyone that you were heading to a board meeting. And that's where it all started. The travel bug bit you then, and you wanted to be a pilot. However, you couldn't as you had myopia, and we'd love to hear a little bit about that. Maloo is also a trustee at Soul to Soul, an NGO that focuses on promoting sports amongst the socially challenged youth in Maharashtra. She is a co-founder of Par Excellence, an organization that is focused on building youth for the future. Ooh, wow. So that's absolutely fantastic, Maloo. Once again, welcome and thank you very much for being a part of this series of conversations with us. Let me begin by simply asking you, tell us about Flow and how it helps women. So I am part of Flow in Delhi and I thoroughly enjoy everything that happens there, but tell us a bit more about it.
Thank you so much, Sareena, and thank you, WIT, for having me. I will share a bit about Flow, but Sareena, add in your bit as well, because your experience would add to it as well. FICCI FLO is basically a part of the Federation of Industrial Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and FLO happens to be the vertical that focuses on promoting women in the field of business, profession, and trade. So what we do is we actively get engaged with entrepreneurs in the urban, semi-urban, and the rural space. We have about 17 chapters, around 8,000 members so far. So the question that I'm normally asked is, why do we need a separate women's forum? And it's a good question to ask, but I believe that we certainly do so for the next few years, mainly to promote networking and help each other as professionals and market ourselves better. We will talk about these as we go along as well. Also, FLO, due to the proximity to the government, can work on various policies, enhancing policies that have an impact on women. We've collaborated with a lot of institutes and lots of organizations, including IITs, IIMs, Niti Aayog, to work in the incubation space, both for girls in schools and colleges and for women. So we strongly believe that tech is the way forward. And so we have tied up with Girls Who Code to train a lot of girls across Maharashtra. And last but not the least, we are actively involved with WIT on various initiatives as one of the missions for both the organizations happen to be the same. Recently, we set up an MSME cell, which is basically to help startups in the areas of legal and compliance. What happens is the government comes up with a lot of schemes, but the startups are unable to leverage it. They don't know how to go about. So we've got subject matter experts to help them out with it. And we've initiated a Women Entrepreneurship Award on an annual basis that's going to happen next year. So in a nutshell, it is a platform to promote women from the corporate world, professionals, entrepreneurs, and also the family managed businesses.
And if I may add, I've found the sessions with Flow, and especially over the last 6 months when we've all been almost locked down, very, very beneficial in more ways than one. But if I may add, there's always also an element of fun in it, and which makes it very, very interesting. So you learn, you benefit, you network, and you're able to leverage off the network very, very well. But also, it makes you look forward to the next event as it's planned. So Maloo, thank you very much for sharing that. We have a lot of women who have initiated their careers, at a certain early stage of their lives, and as they go along, they get caught into so many, well, whether it's society or individual or other kind of biological events, that could happen in their life. How would you, give your view or suggest to women about them having more fulfilling careers and, reaching leadership roles?
Thanks, Sareena. I like the fact that the words fulfilling and leadership are pretty generic. So it lets me go into different phases of the career. So the word fulfilling can mean differently to different folks. And leadership, again, could mean becoming your own boss by starting a venture on your own, where you would not be complaining about the mythical glass ceiling, or you can fight it out in the corporate world for the C-suite. Someone mentioned that careers are like journeys. Very rarely are they executed as planned. Most of the times, they're full of surprises, pleasant and unpleasant. It involves making choices as you go along, having fun, enjoying what you do, making friends, and sometimes ending up frustrated as well. So if you're looking at a corporate career, so as well as I do that it's not going to be a smooth sail. To the top especially, we've never heard such a story before. And there are more reasons than one for that. So my normal advice to the younger generation is to dream big, start small, but move fast. However, you need passion, perseverance, and patience to get there. The first step, I would believe, is to focus on what you're doing in your current job and do it better than anybody else has done before. Get out of your comfort zone, and most organizations encourage you to try that. So try out different areas of businesses, try out innovation labs. A lot of organizations are doing that, work on a few hackathons. The reason is, even if you don't want to be an entrepreneur, these are areas that help you look into the market, figure out what's happening, understand what the buzzwords are. For girls and women, with regards to soft skills, communication, marketing, negotiation, and networking are a few skills that we women really need to focus on. We are not very good at that after all these years. Interestingly, during my first meeting on the first day of my first job, my manager's only piece of advice was ask questions and don't be afraid. So I was very angry with him for doing that because I wouldn't know the subject and what was he expecting from me. It was many years later that I understood the relevance. Make your presence felt from day one. What we normally do as women is we tend to be silent spectators, even when we know the topic very well. Moving to somebody wanting to start a venture of your own, you have to be very passionate about what you want to do. You need a lot of patience and grit to sweat it out. The reason being, we only hear of the few successes, but there are thousands of other startups that are not succeeding and they're failing. But you need to learn from these failures. And what you need to do is to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I don't know if there's a word called relearn, but it's just that, you have to learn there are things that you've learned in the past may not be relevant, so you have to let go and learn again. So as you go along, that is what is absolutely necessary. The lady in the news now is Kamala Harris. I really don't know what she wanted to be when she was growing up, besides the fact that she wanted to prove that she can make a difference. But once she got into politics, I guess she was very focused and knew what the end game was. So So the notion of leadership, again, as you asked, is also changing. So if you look at what happened in the last 6 months during the crisis, you must have noticed a lot of women have been taking on leadership roles, not just in corporate, but also in the political space. Around globally, if you look at Taiwan or New Zealand or Germany, Finland, or US for that matter, if you look at the leadership qualities, what did these political leaders do? They were willing to act fast. They took bold decisions. They took counsel from experts. They did not shy away. When they did not know something, they went to experts. And they did not shy away from enacting decisive actions as well. We need to remember that these are not qualities that all of us are born with, but these are qualities that we can develop as we go along. The other interesting thing that we need to realize is that many of the challenges that women face in the workplace are the same for men too. For example, when you look at challenges like work-life balance, parenting, juggling with responsibilities, and multitasking. But when we talk about challenges for women, I think the first one is the wage gap. Statistics still show that we only earn about 73% of what men earn. And discrimination, I think, is still there in a few workplaces, and sexual harassment, unfortunately, is not a thing of the past. And although we see a lot of women coming up the corporate ladder, once you get promoted, you see very few women in the higher rung. The reasons for this are many, but I'm just going to touch upon two of them. One is the structural barrier. What happens is many women experience identity conflict, trying to lead the workplaces where only masculine management style is recognized and rewarded. So this is more of the assertive, task-oriented style. They try very hard to fit in and guess, they start to second guess themselves about what they're doing. They can never be spontaneous because they're not what they have to be. So many eventually conclude it's not worth it and step off the corporate ladder, although they're all deemed to be heading to success. Ideally, women can overcome this by staying true to their innate strengths, which are creativity and collaboration. Most of the time that works as well. There are indications that women can be excellent leaders as well, and we have had many examples so far. The second one is around policies. So we now have a policy. We need to applaud that there should be at least one woman in the board. I still wonder why it's not 50%. And there is a certain quota in every department, in every organization that is allocated for women. Laudable to a certain extent, but it also leads to a suspicion that if these women are successful, is it because they're good, or do they have unfair advantage? And this again causes stress to a lot of women who have been promoted. So these are known issues and have been around for generations. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to twist it a bit and talk about introspection. What should we women do about it? We've played the role of a victim for a long time, and I guess it's time to get our act together and get out of our comfort zone as well. Women in general have an inability to market themselves. We have been very weak at that, and it's an area that we need to focus on. We do our job, we do a fabulous job, and move on thinking that the work will speak for itself. You must have guessed it never does. So it's like that's something we need to work on. And then in this age of social media and information overdose, setting the right perception and bragging a bit will help you in one way or the other. Don't overdo it, but then you need to do bragging once in a while. The other complaint that we have is about men networking in golf courses and other venues. We need to create our own network and move on. We spoke about Flow. We have a whole lot of other organizations within the organization and externally. They could be tech-based, they could be for startups, for bankers, HR. We need to get into these organizations where you meet up with your peers, you understand what's happening in the market. One more area that comes to my mind is we tend to micromanage and pay attention to details, which is okay to a certain extent, but it may lead to missing the big picture. To give you an example, we are scared to apply for a job till all the boxes are ticked. No, and we have to meet all the criteria that's mentioned. But if you look at men, they would go for it even if they meet only 40% of it. So we need to tell ourselves it is okay to be imperfect. We really have a role to play, and we need to convert these obstacles into opportunities. Time to identify our weaknesses. I guess it's not weakness, but for want of better word, and work towards it. There's another point that comes to my mind, more on the lighter vein. If you look at countries like Singapore and others, national service is mandatory for men and not for women. Okay, so men lose out 2 crucial years of their career, and women tend to do much better at work. Men are not complaining, nor are women seeking equality in the space. So let's focus on the positives, and it's certainly not easy. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think we need to make a start. One last point, Sareena, before I hand it over to you. The last point is that women need to support and promote each other, which is again an area that we really, really need to think about. I'm sure you've all watched Indra Nui's video where she says that when a man is doing a presentation and it is not going well, his colleagues will have a frank chat with him during the break, tell him that he has to buck up and do a better job. However, if it is a woman, during the break, there is an awkward silence or there's a superficial, great job. The reason being, you're not very sure if she would construe your comment as a criticism, or you're okay if she fails and you do not care. So we as women need to start working together and supporting each other to succeed. Sareena?
Yes, thanks, Maloo. I think a lot of that must have resonated with a lot of our viewers, and certainly with me. So the point that you made about learning, I think, and again, in my experience, I've seen the whole unlearning and relearning process to be quite strong. And the moment you accept and acknowledge that, you can almost catapult yourselves into a different kind of a space. So if all of our colleagues, our women colleagues, could start looking at that as something that they skill themselves on a new area, looking at the future trends and taking themselves there, I think that would be a very, very good thing. The other one was about failure, and I think most times, as you said, it doesn't get so talked about. And I heard someone says this, and I repeat this in a lot of my kind of conversations, which is fail again, fail better, and celebrate failure. And the success is bound to follow. So I'm hoping that we can all brace ourselves for a brighter future also through failures. And Maloo, you spoke about things that women can do to have more fulfilling careers. But if you were to look at it the other side, I know you've been part of all these fantastic organizations. What more can organizations, or what more should organizations do to enable women to have more fulfilling careers, and again reach senior leadership roles within corporate India?
I've seen a lot of talk around gender equality and getting women into leadership roles. These are trending topics today. More awareness and conversation on gender is surely a good thing, but the question that's being asked is this noise masking the lack of real action and progress in a lot of organizations? There is a significant lag in fulfilling the promises of equality at work even till today, although we've come a long way. Sareena, I remember my first meeting on diversity. It was in London, where we were all invited for a launch of a diversity and inclusion program. The panel comprised of all men, all British. So if you do not walk the talk, you know where the program is headed even before it starts. So having said that, this was almost 10 years ago. So we've come a very long way, and I see some excellent programs around it, even from the organization. And there is an absolute belief that they have to do something about it. And I see a lot of organizations working towards it. If you look at the next generation, they want challenging work, skill development, and flexibility. The good news is that companies that help people work when, where, and how it suits them won't just appeal to women. We are increasingly seeing what works for women work for men as well, particularly the younger workers who expect to spend a lot of time with families. They want to be traveling. They want to learn new skills. So I guess to address this, companies need to break down gendered career paths. Some women they get stuck in the job silos that were traditionally, historically female oriented. It could be communication, HR, or support roles. So they need to make a conscious decision around that. And also organizations need to flip the question and ask, how could it work, not why it's not working or why it doesn't work. So they need to be explicit about where to progress women and help them obtain the skills and the experience to manage and drive it. And walk the talk, as I said, is absolutely necessary. You could have many diversity programs, and but if you don't see a change in the top, you just have one person just because the law requires it, then I think people start questioning it. But having said that, I can see a major change, and credit goes to the organizations and to the women as well, who have been trying hard and doing a fabulous job. And also, we have the men on our side who are helping us in this journey as well. So at the end of 2020, we can't be rooted to the past. We must hit the accelerator to build an equal and inclusive future. I think our economic growth, work participation, future generation, everything depends on this. The growth is not as fast as it should be by 2020. I think it should have been 50-50. But it's a slow progress, but I think there is some progress out there.
Sure, and you spoke about skills and the future. What skills, in your view, should women arm themselves with to really survive and thrive in the coming decade? What would you say?
I recently read about the word VUCA. It's VUCA, which stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which are the realities of today. Uncertainty and complexity are not going to go away, and the confusion will remain part of the mix. So the next 10 generation will be exceptionally volatile, with many make or break decisions to be made by all of us. To survive, lead, and create the future, there are a few simple leadership skills that may help. The first being is to change your attitude to can do, can make spirit, because that's absolutely necessary, because the kind of crisis we are in, it's very easy to put your hands up and say, sorry, I can't do it. So that's absolutely necessary. Second is clarity, ability to see through mess and communicate with clarity in simple terms so everyone can understand. Third is around turning issues into opportunities, also known as dilemma flipping. So it's like you have to look at every issue as an opportunity and see how best you can come up with solutions. Learning ability is basically to adapt, get out of your comfort zone, and transparency is to inspire credibility and trust. So the future will be loaded with opportunities, and the biggest danger is not being prepared for it, I guess. Having said that, I'm going to reiterate some of the points that I mentioned earlier. There's some basic areas that we really need to focus on. Marketing ourselves better, networking, getting involved in the right forums, stop believing in the myth that there's a glass ceiling. Recruit a sponsor or a mentor, which is absolutely necessary, and self-promoting strategically is very crucial. If you look at other skills, technology is going to be an area that all of us need to adapt and understand. It is here to stay, and we are living in the digital world. We cannot get away from that. Get tech savvy. That does not mean that you need to know coding. That's not for everyone, but you need to understand all aspects of the tech world, be it cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, any of those areas, because these are the words, and this is where the whole world is heading. So globally, that's where it is heading. Also, once you get into the organization, start understanding other areas of business. Don't be stuck to where you are in your comfort zone. Move around when you get an opportunity. These are small little things, but I guess it'll help you in the long run, make your presence felt. And also try out new stuff, because as we had said in the past, both Sareena and I, technology is going to be the space. So try out things like the innovation or incubation labs that the organizations have. Even CSR is a good one, because these are brownie points that help you as you move along the corporate ladder as well.
Absolutely. I think leveraging technology to succeed is a key factor, and you brought that point out very beautifully. Malu, the last few months have, I think, been challenging for everyone in more ways than one. A lot of good things that also I would think have come out of it, in terms of how you perceive life, work, family, friends, etc., etc. But just very specifically, do you think that COVID has opened up opportunities for more women techies to return back to careers which otherwise wouldn't have been possible? And how do you think that's kind of shaping up?
The way I look at it, the world is your oyster. The number of options available these days is unbelievable. And we have so many role models to look up to, because we didn't. But now there are lots of them. Interestingly, I think 90% of us must have reached out to the HR during the course of our career asking for flexible working. But after the work from home, over the past 6 months, probably 50% don't want this anymore and want to head to the office, given the excessive workload at home. But there are two schools of thought when we talk about work from home. Some believe it's the excess workload and there is work-life imbalance, while others seem to thrive on it, especially in cities with long commute, traffic jam, extra family responsibilities, or those in the regional and global roles. So it works both ways, and even the organizations are realizing it, and they're trying to help out more women and staff in general to be working from home, which probably helps a lot of people to get back in their career as well. Having said that, a digital society is a dynamic one. New technologies will regularly enter the workplace, creating new skills and new roles as fast as the others disappear. So today, it is widely accepted that a small percentage of jobs may disappear, but more significantly, 100% of the role will change. So how well we learn and adapt is more important than what you already know. And this would be the case irrespective of gender. But more so for women who want to come back to work, it is absolutely necessary that you figure out what's happening in the market, roll up your sleeves, learn as much as you can. But how we solve the childcare, everyday meal, household chores, education and activities of children, health of the household in the new post-pandemic world is a question that cannot be taken lightly.
Absolutely. And this brings us almost to the last part of our talk today. And so just some few last experience sharing that you would like to do for women, again, preparation for the future. You've already spoken about a lot of things, and the marketing, the branding, the clarity of what they want to do. But anything else that you'd like to just culminate for our conversation today?
Yeah. So when we have major disruptions like the one that we had, they cause fundamental changes in the social attitudes and beliefs, which pave way to the way in which we're working in terms of consumer needs, behaviors, some of which will continue for a long time. Women today are highly motivated, and despite the world almost coming to a halt, they're still pursuing opportunities. And work from home has come as a blessing for women with familial commitments. Some are turning into entrepreneurship, and some are adapting to the technology world and moving forward. To me, the way I look at COVID is it has given us time to introspect and opened up a lot of opportunities for all of us. And I've noticed a lot of women taking advantage of this, thinking of the box and making best of it. A few parting words, again, I may be repeating myself, but I strongly believe in it. Acquire as many transferable skills as you can. Learn how you can unlearn and relearn. That's very important. Believe in yourself. There is so much of value that each of us can contribute. The other one is be known as a thought leader or a creator of ideas, not just a validator. Think out of the box, come up with solutions. Market yourself better, motivate, and networking is also something that we need to really look into. Finally, get a mentor or a sponsor to help you out. I just want to end with a note by Leslie Dwight. It's about 2020. I'm sure most of you have read about it. It says, what if 2020 isn't canceled? What if 2020 is the year we've been waiting for? A year so uncomfortable, so painful, so scary, so raw, that it finally forces us to grow. A year that screams so loud, finally awakening us from our ignorant slumber. A year we finally accept the need to change, declare change, work for change, and become the change. A year we finally bond together instead of pushing each other further apart. 2020 isn't cancelled, but rather the most important year of them all. Sareena?
And that very well could be, the most important year of our lives. So, Malu, thank you very much. It was an absolute
Thank
pleasure
you.
to speak with you. And I am confident that all our viewers would have gained a lot of beautiful nuggets out of what you've shared with them. And we are delighted that, you are associated with Women in Technology. And I hope that we can catch up in happier, brighter times with a coffee and a drink and say cheers in person. So thank you very
Looking
much.
forward to it,
I
Sareena.
hope to see you soon.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye.